So, welcome everyone to Morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakte Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. So the verse today is verse number 23 in the fourth canto, 8th chapter. Let's recite the verse. Nanyam tata padma palashalochana dukkha chidam te mrigayani kanchana Yo mridayete hasta grahita padmaya श्रियेतरे रङ्गविमृग्यमाणया नान्यं तथा पद्मपलाशलोचनात् दुःखाचिदं ते मृगयामि कञ्चन यो मृगयेते हस्तगृहीत पद्मया श्रियेतररङ्गविभृग्यमाणया Anybody wants to repeat? नान्यं तदा पद्मपलाशलोचना दुःखाचिदं ते मृगयामि कञ्चन यो गृह्यते हस्तगृहीतपद्मया श्रियेतरे रङ्गविमृग्यमाणया नान्यं तथा पद्मपलाशलोचनात् दुःखाचिदं ते मृगयामि कञ्चन यो मृगयते हस्तगृहीतपद्मया श्रियेतरे रङ्गविमृग्यमाणया Word means na anyam, no others, tata, therefore, padma palashalochana, from the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dukkha chidam, one who can mitigate others' difficulties. Te, your, mrigayami, I'm searching after. Kanchana, anyone else. Yaha, who, mrigayate, searches. Hastagrahit, fortune. Itare, by others. Anga, my dear boy. Vimrikyamanaya, one who is worshipped. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to render service to the Supreme Lord. Big purport, a very nice one. We'll try to read it. Suniti pointed out herewith that the benediction received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that received from the demigods are not on an equal level. Foolish persons say that no matter whom one worships, he pointed out herewith that the benediction received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that received from the demigods are not on an equal level. Foolish persons say that no matter whom one worships, one will get the same result, but actually that is not a fact. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that the benedictions received from the demigods are all temporary and are meant for the less intelligent. In other words, because the demigods are all materialistically conditioned souls, although they are situated in very exalted positions, their benedictions cannot be permanent. Permanent benediction is spiritual benediction, since a spirit soul is eternal. It is also said in Bhagavad Gita that only persons who have lost their intelligence go to worship the demigods. Therefore, Suniti told her son that he should not seek the mercy of the demigods, but should directly approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead to mitigate his misery. Material opulences are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his different potencies and specifically the goddess of fortune. Therefore, those who are after material opulences seek the pleasure or mercy of the goddess of fortune. Even the highly placed demigods worship the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune, Mahalakshmi herself, is always seeking the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone, therefore, who takes to the worship of the Supreme Lord automatically receives the blessings of the goddess of fortune. At this stage of his life, Dhruva Maharaj was seeking material opulences, and his mother advised rightly that even for material opulences, it is better to worship not the demigods but the Supreme Lord. Although pure devotee does not seek benedictions from the Supreme Lord for material advancement, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita that pious persons go to the Lord even for material benedictions. A person who goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for material gain is gradually purified in association with the Supreme Lord. Thus, he becomes free from all material desires and is elevated on the platform of spiritual life. Unless one is raised to the spiritual platform, it is not possible for him to completely transcend all material contamination. Suniti, the mother of Dhruva, was a far seeing woman, and therefore she advised her son to worship the Supreme Lord and no one else. The Lord is described herein as lotus eyed, Padma Palash Lochana. When a person is fatigued, if he sees a lotus flower, all his fatigue can be immediately reduced to nil. Similarly, when an aggrieved person sees the lotus face of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately all his grief is reduced. A lotus flower is also an insignia in the hand of Lord Vishnu, as well as in the hand of the goddess of fortune. The worshippers of the goddess of fortune and Lord Vishnu together are certainly very opulent in all respects, even in material life. The Lord is sometimes described as Shiva Virinchi Nutam, which means that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma also offer their respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. That's ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजाताम् सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्. So, thank you everyone for joining Srimad Bhagavatam class. I seek all your blessings. I'm not qualified to be sitting here and speaking on the sublime topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, but because I know I'm struggling myself every day, but the matter is so pure and our parampara is so great that if I just am able to repeat what I heard from the past, then it is success. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a verse that comes Krishne Swadhamopagate Dharma Jnana Dibhisaha Kalau Nashta Drishamesha Puranarko Dunodita. So this verse says that Srimad Bhagavatam is like the sun. It arose just, so if we read this Bhagavad Puran, is as brilliant as the sun, and it arose just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, along with religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali shall get light from this Puran. So, with that mood, we will try to begin the class of Srimad Bhagavatam. So far the storyline is Dhruva Maharaj has been rebuked by Mother Suruchi, the stepmother of Dhruva Maharaj. And it's not an ordinary rebuke where the mothers get angry. There are pretty harsh words spoken. And Queen Suniti, she tells, Dhruva Maharaj that if you have a desire to sit on the lap of your father, that is not possible in this lifetime. If you want to do that, you go do penances, serve Lord Narayan, die. If he is pleased, then take birth from my womb, and then probably in your next life you can also sit on the lap of your father along with your step brother Uttam. So these are pretty harsh words for a 5-year-old boy to take. And Dhruva Maharaj, we need to understand he's a Kshatriya. Though he's 5-year-old, he's a Kshatriya and he feels a lot of pain and anger. So Dhruva Maharaj goes to his mother. Mother is Suniti. And there he just starts crying pitifully. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, the verse is it's written that just like a snake is hit by a stick, how the snake hisses, that much anger is there in Dhruva Maharaj when he's gone to his mother. So it is very elaborate just to understand from where, from what position to what position Dhruva Maharaj rises. So anger, grief, distress, everything is there. So the previous verses, I just took a screenshot from verse 17. Today's verse is verse number 23. From verse 17, Mother Suniti starts speaking. And in the verse 17 itself, it says that Mother Suniti is also in a lot of pain. She is also shivering like a leaf and she is in anger. But what she does, she just picks up Dhruva Maharaj and puts him on his lap. So, here in the following verses, what we will see is the nature and the characteristics of Mother Suniti, because Mother Suniti is a great mother and an example for all of us. So, she is nurturing, wise, and spiritually um, enlightened. So, she nurtures Dhruva Maharaj. And what she does, what she says, actually is telling Dhruva Maharaj to follow on the path of virtuousness, even in the face of distress, even in the face of facing insults. So the first thing that she tells to her son is Don't desire inauspiciousness for anybody. And who is this anybody? For your stepmother. Why? Because if you desire inauspiciousness for others, you will bear the pain of it yourself. So this shows the character of Mother Suniti. She could have said anything else, but she said, don't do something that is very natural to come out of your heart, desiring inauspiciousness for the other person who has caused you pain. So Mother Suniti says, don't do that. Then this shows that how she is empowered. And then another thing, when somebody is insulting you, it is very difficult to approve of what that person has said. But even in this traumatic situation, Mother Suniti says, actually, what your stepmother has said is true. You should go and take shelter of Supreme Lord Narayan because that is the truth. And not only that, she doesn't say that, okay, take shelter. She says, you should not waste time. You should do it right now. So she is putting her point across that do it right now. Right now, go and serve the Lord. Then, yeah, so that is up to this verse. Then in verse 20, she says, now see, Dhruva Maharaj, he's a 5-year-old boy and he is in pain. To convince Dhruva Maharaj, Mother Suniti is trying everything possible. So children look up to their elders, right? Their area is their elders and their family members and their friends. So now to convince and to put her point across that you must take shelter of Lord Narayan, she first talks about great grandfather Brahmaji, because Brahmaji is the great grandfather of Dhruva Maharaj. And then she tells that what did Brahmaji achieve by worshipping, by taking shelter of the Supreme Lord? He got the qualification to create the material world. So, portraying the picture through the example of family members that this is what you should do. Then, going forward, she talks about grandfather, Swambhuva Manu. It says not only great grandfather, but even your grandfather, Swambhuva Manu, he served the Supreme Lord, he practiced devotion, gave charity, did everything right, and what happened? Ultimately, he had a very here she's trying to put that he had a good material life. He gained a lot of material gains. Why she's telling that? Again, to put forward the point that you should worship the Supreme Lord. So, in one ways, it said, Sam Dam Dand Bhed, that she was doing, putting in the mind of Dhruva Maharaj that there is no other way, that you should not do this. You should worship Supreme Lord. So, and ultimately, Swambhuva Manu was liberated. And here, first time, she brings the point of demigods. She says, this liberation is only possible, it's only given by the mercy of Supreme Lord, not by the demigods. Yeah. And then she brings forward that people who are seeking liberation from the cycle of birth and death, they should also take to devotion service to the Supreme Lord, because then you will be purified and you can move forward in your life of devotion. So she's putting this point forward, and then finally she she speaks this word. So we are almost coming to the end of what Mother Suniti has to say. This is the last verse. After this, Dhruva Maharaj will head towards the forest. So in today's verse is the last verse, where she says, my dear Dhruva, as far as I am concerned, I do not find anyone who can mitigate your distress but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like lotus petals. Many demigods, such as Lord Brahma, seek the pleasure of the goddess of fortune, but the goddess of fortune herself, with a lotus flower in her hand, is always ready to serve the Supreme Lord. So, till now, Mother Suniti spoke about great grandfather, grandfather, and how they got what they got by taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. Now she addresses the concern from her point of view. She says, I also don't think that your distress can be mitigated by anybody else. Now, here, one thing is very important to understand, that Mother Suniti, she is not putting down the demigods. She is only doing this to imprint in little Dhruva's mind the glorious position of the Supreme Lord. That is what she is doing. She understands that being born of her, she accepts her position that King Uttanapat does not care for her, love her as much as he cares for Mother Suruchi. So he accepts the position. She accepts the position and says, "You will have difficulty all your life because of this. You cannot change your birth, but your difficulty can be mitigated only by taking shelter of the Supreme Lord." So again and again, she's putting this point across straight that only the Supreme Lord can mitigate your distress. So, sometimes we face this, we have heard that some people say that इस्कॉन वाले तो सिर्फ कृष्ण भक्ति करते, वो सारे डेमीगॉड्स को let down करते, they belittle the demigods and they only worship Krishna. But that is actually not true, because our sampradaya follows what is given in the Shastras, right? And what is given in the Shastras? It is said that demigods are the limbs of the Lord. So when we worship Supreme Lord, the limbs are automatically worshipped, right? So another point that is very important is anybody who says these words, who criticizes ISKCON, has not actually come to programs probably regularly. Because in our programs, in all our classes, what is the one point that is hammered left and right in our brains? What is the one thing that is always spoken about? What is the one thing that we have to be careful of? Vaishnava Aparadh. Our children also know that. It's told to us so many times. Vaishnava Aparadh, which is the mad elephant offense. With Vaishnav Aparadh, Aparadh means where there is no Radharani. Aparadh. So we should not be doing Aparadh towards the Vaishnavas, right? And who are demigods? Chosen Vaishnavas. So, how can this statement that ISKCON belittles demigods be true when we are constantly told to avoid the one thing in bhakti as our as the most important thing? Never ever commit Vaishnava Aparadh. So that is just one thing. And here also we see the character of Mother Suniti. She is not even belittling Mother Suruchi, who gave so much pain to his son. And she's saying what Mother Suruchi has said is true. So following on that same footsteps, we try to see, if we read the purport, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about demigod worship and how benedictions from demigods are different from benedictions from the Supreme Lord. So now in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, a verse comes, right? We all know this verse where it is said that men of small intelligence worship demigods. And who are demigods? Like Chandradev, Vayudev, Indradev. These are like position holders, department holders. Now, the Supreme Lord does not have, like if we consider Supreme Lord as caretaker of a whole government. Now, our idea of government is just one country, right? Like the Prime Minister is taking care, or here the President is taking care, or it's just one country, but the Supreme Lord is the government, is the head for not only one planet, not only one universe, but millions of universes. And to run so many universes, he needs people to support him. And these department heads are there to support the Lord with their full loyalty. And that is what they are doing. And the verse comes, right? Maya Drakshena Prakriti सूयते स चराचरम हेतु नानेन kaunteya jagat vipri vartate. So Lord Krishna says this Maya Dakshina Prakriti, this material world is working under my direction, and everything moving and immoving is happening because of me. So the natural laws of this world are working because the Supreme Lord is the force behind that. So in no way are demigods being put down. In fact, they are helping. Now, on the same lines, if we see Srimad Bhagavatam talks about very clearly the relation of demigods as the limbs of the Lord. This is a very nice verse. It talks about yatha tarormulnisheshanena trapyanti tatskanda bhujopashakha प्राणोपहाराज्यतेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वाहरणम् achyutechya. So here, just like by watering, this verse is in Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, just like watering the root of the tree, all the twigs, branches, fruit, everything is watered. And similarly, by supplying food to the stomach, all the bodily limbs are satisfied. We don't have to give separately. Similarly, by following the process of devotion towards Lord Achyuta, all the demigods are satisfied. Demigod worship is part of worshipping the Supreme Lord. It is not separate because demigods are part of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna Seva means automatically serving all the demigods. Another thing, is here I would like to talk about the magnanimity of the Supreme Lord. So this conversation comes, I forgot the canto, eighth canto. In eighth canto, this is a conversation between Satyavrat, King Satyavrat and the Lord in the form of Matsya. And King Satyavrat says that neither all the demigods nor the so-called gurus nor other people, either independently or together, can offer mercy that equals 1/10,000th of yours. So the Lord's mercy is beyond comparison. Actually, when I was preparing this slide, I thought a class should be given on the magnanimity of the Lord only. It is in itself a whole topic. And I cannot, not speak on the magnanimity of the Lord until I touch upon a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is one of my most favorite verses. And the verse is अहो बकीयं स्तनकालकूटं जिह्वांसयापाय यदापसाध्वी लेभे गतिं दातृचितं ततोऽन्यं कं वा दयालुं शरणं व्रजेम. This verse is such a powerful verse. This verse says, alas, how shall I take shelter of one who is more merciful than he who granted the position of mother to a she-demon Putana, although she was unfaithful and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast? So as I was saying, magnanimity of the Lord, of Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, knows no bounds. He is so magnanimous, but he is visible to us as we see him. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Ye yatha mam prapadyate. So as we approach him, he rewards us. So though Krishna, though Putana has an ill motive to kill Krishna, she awards the position of mother to her in the spiritual world. Like if we all have a special relationship with our mothers, right? The one thing that stays with us no matter how old we become is the relationship with our mother. And I was hearing a class by Gaur Govind Maharaj, and Maharaj said these were Vedic mothers. Mother Suniti is a Vedic mother. She is teaching by her example the right thing even in the face of calamity. So, and another thing is Krishna, just like how our mother loves us, Krishna loves us. Krishna's love is like million mothers. Only thing is we have to open our hearts to access that. He loves us so much. Whenever we are in distress, this is one thing that we can, we can always remind ourselves that whether somebody is helping us, whether the situation is conducive or not conducive, there is one person whose love will not change, and that is Krishna's love. No matter what we do, how abominable we may be, Krishna will never leave our hand. So, with that faith, we should practice devotion. I don't know why I said this. Anyways, so again, the point of demigod worship. So we have all heard this example, right? A boy goes to a shop, and the shopkeeper happens to be an ordinary person. And the boy goes, "Here's the money. I want to buy a knife." Uh, so the shopkeeper takes the money and gives the knife. But shopkeeper has no intention or no desire to know what that small kid is going to do with the knife. But let's change the situation and try to see that the shopkeeper happens to be the father of the boy. The boy says, "Here's the money, give me knife." Because your job is to take money and give me knife. Do you think the shopkeeper, who is the father, will give the knife just like that? No, definitely not. First of all, he will ask, "Why do you need the knife?" He will try to figure out. The boy will say, "Oh, I just need to cut an apple." And the shopkeeper will say, "Then you don't need a knife. You need an apple cutter. So here, take an apple cutter." So, similarly, when we have desires, now we don't know whether our desire is good. Like that boy, he wants a knife. His desire is to cut an apple, but for that he's seeking a knife. That knife can be harmful. Whether the apple will be cut or not cut, the boy's fingers can be cut. So when we worship the demigods are bound to give us the fruits. But whether the fruit is beneficial for us or not, that they are not concerned because their job is to give the fruits. But when we are worshipping the Supreme Lord, even for our material desires, when we go to the Supreme Lord, just like in this case, the Lord gives an apple cutter. Here, take the apple cutter, cut the apple, your work will be done. I don't even need money, and your fingers will be safe. So when we worship Supreme Lord fulfills all our desires, but the desire he tweaks in a way that it is beneficial for us. So that is another point. So now this in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about benediction. So what is the highest benediction? There's a quote by His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj where Maharaj says, the real blessing or the real benediction that the soul is looking for is blessing of the connection with God's love. That's the highest blessing. To connect with God's love. And that connection is available, ample. Only thing is we have to open our eyes, we have to look for it. Like in Bible, there is a saying, seek and you shall find. There's small sayings. So I remember reading this, it said somewhere, seek and you shall find. So when we are practicing devotion, when we seek this highest benediction in our everyday life, so many good things happen in our life, right? In those good things, and bad things that happen in our life, if we see the connection to the Supreme Lord, then our life is successful. That is the highest benediction. Now, the obvious question should be, okay, now you told what is highest benediction, but how do we achieve that highest benediction? How to get the highest benediction? So, how to get the highest benediction, that is explained in a lot of places, but Srimad Bhagavatam, two characters are widely celebrated. One is Dhruva Maharaj and another is Prahlad Maharaj. All the people who are from India, old people, like me. So when we were small, our parents used to talk to us about Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, right, Mataji? We have grown up hearing those stories. So Prahlad Maharaj says when Lord Narsimhadev comes and gives darshan, what Prahlad Maharaj says is actually to access that benediction. Prahlad Maharaj says, I therefore beg you, Lordship, to bless me by the association of your devotees. So, by that association of devotees, it is possible to access love of God. Otherwise, it is not possible. All glories to devotee association. So here, devotee association is ample, is like we say, it is difficult to be found. But if we open our eyes right from our homes, in our temple, places that we go, devotee association is available. We have to start accessing it. So I'm so grateful, like, for all our children sitting here, my kids only. I would just like to say that I am so grateful to my parents because they sowed the seed of bhakti in my heart right when I was a child. I was hardly in fourth grade or fifth grade, and I remember my parents, both my mom and my dad, they told me story of Dhruva. They clearly said Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest and worshipped Lord Narayan. I still remember. And they said, why? And my mother used to say, why? Because still she says the same thing. In today's world, everything that is happening is because of the Lord. And the only thing that we can do is take name of the Lord. Still she says, don't do anything other than taking name of the Lord. That is association. So I am blessed that I was, like, I'm so fortunate that I was blessed with devotee association right from our childhood. But sometimes, and it is because of that association that Krishna has been so kind that he gave more associations. When we hanker for devotee association, Krishna himself facilitates that we get more devotee association. If we are not hankering for it, gradually that mercy is taken away. So, what we have, let's not take it cheaply. Let's not take it casually. Because if we are not having it, we don't know what our life will be. So, yeah. Yeah, so this is the picture that I was seeing. And then I was reading a quote where His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj says, it is so important to be an instrument that brings out the inherent good in another rather than the worst. So when we are in devotee association, what should we do? What should our mood be? So our mood should be to move forward together towards the same goal of Krishna Bhakti. So many times we have heard, right? Bhakti is simple, not easy. So let us come together in association of devotees to make bhakti easy. Let us pull each other. Let us enthuse each other. Let us give us, encouragement to move forward in bhakti. Srila Prabhupada has given us this family of devotees. We all know these are the devotees we live with, and these are the devotees we live with. So that is such a powerful statement, right? If we don't value devotee association, then how can we have hope to get access the mercy? How can we have hope to access love of God, which is the highest benediction for us in this lifetime? Devotee association is so important for us. And yeah, so one prayer, we should have a lot of prayers. And every day we should pray. Personal prayer should be there to the Lord. And one of the prayers, definitely, like I'm speaking to myself, one of the prayers should be, my Lord, may I never be the cause of somebody's pain. And if I am, then please give me the intelligence that I go to that person and beg forgiveness. It is a very hard thing to not cause pain to others. Unknowingly we cause, knowingly also we cause, but at least we pray that, my Lord, please, may I never be the cause of anybody's pain in association of devotees. And my Prabhu always says, the best of friendships are formed during service. When we serve together, the best of friendships are formed, right? You've already always said that. And that is so true. Why? Because when we are serving together, the goal is not ourselves. The goal is to please the Supreme Lord. And since we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, if the Lord is pleased, then we will also feel the joy. That is why service gives joy. And when we serve together, we keep the highest thing, the highest goal. That is, whatever I do in this service, my Lord, it gives you pleasure. Whether it is singing, my Lord, hope my singing is pleasing you. My Lord, I'm dancing for your pleasure. I'm dressing, may the dressing be pleasing to your heart. My Lord, I'm cooking, may the bhoga be pleasing to you. So there has to be a personal prayer to the Lord that my Lord, my actions may always please you. So it's so important. And we are blessed with this temple where we come together, we dance together, we have each other's back. Why I put that picture, because we have each other's back. When I moved to US, I heard this statement, let's have each other's back. I didn't understand the meaning of that statement. Having each other's back means being there for each other. So let us be there for all our devotee friends. That is why this picture I picked up, because it's showing the back. So, yeah. This, in the purport, Mother Suniti, Srila Prabhupada says, at this point of life, Dhruva Maharaj was wanting material gain. And Srila Prabhupada says, even for material gain, you should go to the Supreme Lord and not to anyone else. So, this incident happened last year in Sunday school. Uh, a kid a kid came to me and said, Mataji, we know that we should not ask Krishna for anything else, but bhakti only. Kid is small. I won't say very small, but small. Bhakti only. And bhakti should be ahetuki apratihata. The kid said these words. I'm not joking. The kid in Sunday school said these words. When we are, when our children are 3, 4 years into Sunday school, they become so knowledgeable. It's just hammered into their brain. They said, Bhakti should be ahetuki apratihata. But Mataji, what should I do if I have a desire that is not devotional? It has nothing to do with Krishna. So I remember talking to that kid, and I hope that kid is listening to this class. So I told, okay, I said something around the lines of higher taste. When I was preparing, I was really thinking, I remembered that kid and I thought, hope that kid hears. This answer is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Uh, a person a person who has, like we spoke about in Bhagavad Gita, it says, men of small intelligence worship the demigods. Now, a person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desires, without any material desire or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. Like Dhruva Maharaj, at that point of his life, he was desiring material gain. But what he was not purified, completely purified. But what happens? He was ready to change. And where does the change happen? The change happens when the Lord gives him darshan. When he sees the Lord places the conch, and Dhruva Maharaj gains all knowledge and is completely purified. And the Lord says, so now you can have, his desire was to have a kingdom greater than his great grandfather, greater than Brahmaji. Lord says, now you can have. And Dhruva Maharaj says, I don't want that. So, as on the similar lines, we all know this story of a thief who goes. I read this in ISKCON Desire Key. So the thief sees a picture of Srila Prabhupada wearing a Rolex watch. So the thief desires that I should go and steal this Rolex watch because I want this Rolex watch. So the thief goes and he sees the devotees serving. So he inquires, where is Prabhupada? He said, Prabhupada is not here. So he said, okay, I'll wait for Prabhupada to come. And he's waiting. One day goes, second day he goes, where is Prabhupada? Prabhupada is not here. So when will Prabhupada come? Every day he would go. Now every day you're going somewhere, you're seeing everybody serving, you will also feel like serving. So the thief eventually starts serving. And this um, uh, he's serving in the temple, and a few days pass by. And Srila Prabhupada eventually one day comes to the temple. So the devotees, you know how we are always eager to uplift each other and tell each other, Prabhupada, this person did so much service. And Prabhupada says, oh, very nice. So you want my Rolex watch? And the person says, no, I don't need the Rolex watch. So our inner tendencies, our lower tendencies can only be overcome by higher taste. So when we have taste for the Supreme Lord, when we have a desire to serve the Supreme Lord, then our lower tendencies will eventually get lost. Faith, we have to keep that faith. Yeah. So the starting point doesn't matter where we started. Dhruva Maharaj's starting point was different. He was a small boy crying in anger, running to his mother, and it ultimately reached to a point where he is called Dhruva Maharaj. Amazing, right? Yeah. So now we know that we should have association of devotees. But what about the association that we have with ourselves 24 by 7? The association we have with our own mind. We all know, right? Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about sadhu sangha, sarva shastra kai, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hai. Association of a sadhu for even a fraction of a second. Love is 1/11th of a second. So even for that small portion of time, if we have association of a pure devotee, then our life is successful. But we are having association of our own mind. So Srila Prabhupada says that what is the problem? Why don't you train your mind to always think of Krishna? Somehow or the other, you are always thinking about something. Are our minds anytime empty? We are always thinking. So we are always thinking, then why not train our mind to think about Krishna? Right? Uh, and in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, right, Man manabham mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evashyasi yutveno atmanam mad parayana. Engage your mind in always thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, you will surely come to me. So this is a training that we should give to our mind. We are in this material world, material energy is very strong. But just like for children, when they go to a new grade, like when they take courses, then everything is new, right? Is it easy? It's not easy. Everything is hard. But what do children do? And we have to do it. So we have to study. Same way we have to train our mind. So training our mind to see Krishna, remember Krishna, think of Krishna, serve Krishna should always be in our mind. And that is what is called lollyam, right? Desiring to be with Krishna in our by our mind, words, and actions. Actually, you know, when I read Kunti Maharani's prayers, where it is said, Kunti Maharani says, "My Lord, you are accessible only to the ones who are materially exhaustible. Those who don't have, but those who have high parentage, high birth, beauty, fame, knowledge, for them you are not accessible." So that prayer, when I read, it actually made me very sad because I thought, "Abhi jo hai to hai. Abhi, what can I do? I can't change what I have, right? I can think of myself, but what is the truth is there, right?" So then in Srimad Bhagavatam, I read a verse. It said that being situated in your social position, if you do not speculate and serve by your mind, words, and action, Srimad Bhagavatam, then the Lord is not accessible, but the Lord gives gives Himself to you. The Lord is conquered. So in that verse, there are a lot of commentaries given, and one of the commentaries is by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that what does it mean by serving Srimad Bhagavatam by mind, words, and body? It said by your mind you are in reverential form that I'm getting to hear about Srimad Bhagavatam. By your words, you are glorifying the activities, the leelas, the pastimes of the Supreme Lord and His devotees. And by your body, when we come in front of the Lord, when we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we touch, like we bow down with our hands and with our body parts, we bow down and pay our obeisances to the Lord. So, just by doing these three things, the Lord is conquered by the devotee, by our mind, body, and words, giving to Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord gives Himself. So then my doubt, that you are not approachable by people who have high parentage, high birth knowledge. It was like, okay, I mean, whatever it is there, it is there. But by doing this, the Lord is there. He's given us Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is why Srimad Bhagavatam is so very pure. I heard in one class, Gaur Govind Maharaj's class only, he said, every word, every syllable of Srimad Bhagavatam is true. There is nothing which is incorrect in Srimad Bhagavatam. So now we know that we should always think of Krishna. Of course, Krishna is in our heart as Paramatma. But if somebody is coming to your house who's a great person, will you keep them in a dirty place or in a clean place? Give them all the best. So when Krishna, we want Krishna, remembrance of Krishna, we want Krishna in our heart, then what should we do? We should make our heart a worthy place for Krishna to stay. So I was hearing a class by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, and he gives this example of Gundicha Marjan. And he says how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, first he cleaned the temple, and he cleaned the temple, got big, big piles of dirt by cleaning the temple. So that analogy is compared to cleaning the heart. And just like Mahaprabhu cleaned the heart for Lord Jagannath to clean the temple for Lord Jagannath to stay, we have to clean our heart for the Lord to stay. So gross material desires, really gross, stealing, telling lies, speaking ill of others, purposely hurting others, doing wrong activities, that is cleaning the heart first time. Then Maharaj says, eventually after few years of bhakti, you understand that one time cleaning is not enough. The cleaning has to be constant. And that is why Mahaprabhu, he cleaned the temple one time, and then second time, again he cleaned. First time itself he cleaned with so much vigor, so much enthusiasm, got so much dirt. Second time when everybody thought there will be no dirt, Mahaprabhu cleaned, he got higher piles of dirt. So that is compared to the subtle anarthas that are there in our heart. So I have no realization of this. I'm just repeating Maharaj's words. Maharaj said that the subtle anarthas take time. And for those subtle anarthas to go, we have to follow. We go through the process, right? From Shraddha, Seva, Bhajana, Kriya. Up to Anartha Nivritti, it's very, very hard. Of course, after Anartha Nivritti, it becomes a little easier. That is what Maharaj said. It becomes easier. But Anarthas are there even up to Bhava stage. So how we make sure that those subtle anarthas are not pulling us down, that is by following the 9 processes of devotion, constantly hearing, constantly chanting, constantly remembering, constantly serving the Lord. That is what Maharaj was talking about, and that is the Gundicha Marjana pastime. Yeah. So I'll just try to end this. Faith, this is a nice quote from, he's an author, Canadian author. He said, faith and fear have a lot in common. They both demand you to believe in something you cannot see. So, either you can, like this when I was writing, it was for myself, clearly. So, buy to fear, let's have faith. So somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you talk so much about Krishna Prem. What is Krishna Prem? What actually is Krishna Prem? Prabhupada said, Krishna Prem means being fearless, right? Srimad Bhagavatam says, Yasyam Vaishulyamanayam Krishna Prem Krishna Param Purushe Bhaktir Utpatyate Pumsa Shoka Moha Bhayapaha. Simply by giving oral reception to the Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Krishna rises and it extinguishes the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fear. So it is impossible to overestimate the power of chanting. In this Kali Yuga, we know there are a lot of faults in this age of Kali. That is, it is hard to do bhakti, right? But there is one benediction. Kaler doshe nidhi rajan asti hai eko mahan guna. Kirtanadev Krishnasya mukta sangha param vrije. There is one benediction that this holy name can counteract all the miseries of this Kali Yuga. So let us have faith and empower ourselves with the needed ammunition to go through this Kali Yuga. And what is the ammunition? Faith in the Lord, taking shelter of the Lord, constantly remembering the Lord, and most importantly, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. With that, I would like to end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Please forgive me if I have misspoken something or spoken something out of context as your humble servant. Any feedback, corrections, suggestions? Corrections, please. Hmm. I feel like that is possible. Very true. Chastise may chastise very heavy force. But then after wanting to become and that never happened. You were never privy to that. So the thing is that your devotion is Bhagwan Maharaj says, your devotion is simple as a child. I feel that that's when you simple, but actually because of the covering of so many things that like, for example, you didn't have a desire. Oh, I want to be I would give you so yesterday I spoke my mind in the class that I did not come from you, but I was very studying that. I said, I was saying the class, bhakti means to be at the right place at the right time, the right time. That's bhakti is not that you have to do something extraordinary or you have to lift a mountain or this or that. Bhakti is very simple. At the same time, not easy. Yeah, but a good number of times. Then definitely there is a chance. Like for example, for myself, if I am not in body program, then you just don't remember Krishna. If you can remember Krishna, remember Krishna also remind you. Even though it's bad, even though it's not, the right environment, the right consciousness, then it's not so difficult. Bhakti is not so difficult. So I do that for the next generation especially. Now we need to create an environment, we need to expose it to an environment. We need to make a lifestyle which is not actually so I really appreciate it. And what I have gone, I think I appreciate it. Since what situation was not only following, but at the same time, because we get exposed and forget the thing. How Prabhupada more and more because consciousness and it's not related with us. Even for myself, someone who are using the model, I will never join it. But what is so hard is that we started the how we we should not make bhakti like, especially for you, those who are not whatever the level is, give them the from us that from the possible how can we about this. I feel that all that and in the life of us pastimes. That meant to study Krishna's pastimes. Uh, so, thank you so much, Devi. We will, I was just thinking when you were speaking that for children, we should, for everybody, more so for children, we should introduce Prabhupada more and more through his pastime. So I was just thinking um, how we can implement that in Sunday school. So when you were speaking, I was thinking that. So actually, yeah, I mean, Prabhupada, Vivekananda is there. Yeah, Prabhupada is very well. So the same Prabhupada, so that's very exciting. And then what happens the more and more you hear Prabhupada, then you internalize Prabhupada. This is the people see that lecture is what changed my life. Hearing those lectures changed my complete conception of Krishna consciousness. So, yeah, so the thing is that hearing Prabhupada, hearing Prabhupada makes the lecture very important. Because the thing is that, yeah, I mean, today this called many things are there. But the best thing about Prabhupada is Prabhupada promoted studying with Krishna. And Prabhupada said, anyone can access it. Not that you have to be high Paramahamsa. Anyone can do it. So, Yadav Mata and all these big devotees, Roman body, so maybe our children also can become it. Not that you have to do it. Prabhupada said, no, end of the day, Prabhupada said, you come to me, I can meet Paramahamsa immediately. So I don't need to have a comforting. You know, I have to be this, I have to be that, I have to be proper. You want to comfort, that's what the Buddha is trying to promote. We will collectively pray that we are able to follow what you said. Thank you so much. I think that you know I listen to all the I listen to all the different I don't know whether Zoom was on or not. Is it still on?
Thank you for wonderful class, Mataji. It was very nice examples, and apple cutter example was so good. And you glorified Bhagavatam so nicely. Thank you so
That
much.
example was given by my Prabhu. That's his one of the favorite examples. He always says that is to speak that. So thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय.
Thank you, Mataji. Nice class.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji, for motivating all of us by your own example and now today through Vani too. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. 10:50 something.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Very nice class, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.